Alrighty, so today we are focusing on subtracting decimals. We're continuing with our monarch theme if you haven't recognized. Yesterday we focused on the kings. Today we may have a little focus on the queens. Our essential question of the day is, how can you subtract decimals? So let's take a peek at today's word problem. All right, thank you to Danielle and Willow for submitting photos for me. Still looking for more photos for my word problems. The more creative you get with the photos, the more creative I can get with our word problems. So if you'd like to be featured, please email me. It could be a Bitmoji or it could be an actual photo of you in action. All right, so Danielle and Willow hosted a benefit ball to raise money for the Cash for Kids campaign. They were able to raise a total of $952.75. Almost $1,000 bucks. That's pretty impressive, Danielle and Willow. If $265.36 must go towards paying for the hall rental, for actually paying for the venue, how much money remains to be donated to the Vision of Hope schools? Now, I don't know if you guys know this, but every year, fifth grade kind of takes on this charity and hosts a series of fundraisers.
I've kind of noticed since
so fifth grade is usually the leading class on this, and I know that this year's a bit different setup, but I'm hoping that we can all still step up independently at home and take on this challenge. Now, I know we can't throw a giant ball, but it's fun. It's fun to think out there and think of what the potential is for having a fundraiser. So that being said, I'm going to write down some of my key numbers here, and I will switch my view so you can see my board in just a minute. So we hear that they were able to raise a whopping $952.75. And again, I will show my whiteboard in just a minute. And $265 of that money and 36 cents will go towards paying for the hall. So they rented out that hall to have that ball, rhymes, and now they have to use some of the profits that they made to actually pay for the venue. What operation are we going to need to use to find out how much money remains to be donated to the Vision of Hope schools? What operation?
Subtraction.
Subtraction. What was our clue word here? What's our clue word that tells us
how much money remains?
Right, remains, right? We want to find out what's left over. That tells us we're going to be finding the difference. So please get your graph notebooks out. We're going to line up our digits and we're going to solve this. All right. Here we go. So I've written my two values and I will shift my board until our glare is gone, hopefully. All right. So I have my $956 and my 75 cents. And I have my $265.36 that's going towards paying for the hall. Does everybody have those amounts written down?
Yep.
All right. So since we're going to be subtracting that amount that's for the hall, our first step is to line up our decimals. So let's write our first value, $952.75. Remember that we're not working with addition anymore, fifth graders. So since we're not working with addition, it is extremely important that you place your numbers in correct order. So the numbers, the total amount will always come first. Now let's drop your decimal down. Make sure that you line up your values by, line up your digits by place value. So the 5 is in the ones place, it goes in the ones place. 6 is in the tens place, it goes in the tens place. 2 is in the hundreds place. The same with our decimals. 3 is in the tenths place. 6 is in the hundreds place. Now that everything is beautifully lined up, and it does help if you have graph paper, I'm going to double check to make sure there's a digit in all of my places so I don't have any accidental shifts of numbers. There's a digit in all my places. So before I solve my operation subtraction, I'm going to drop my decimal down, make sure that my decimal is in my answer. And now I'm ready to begin solving right to left. 5 minus 6. I hope nobody writes this.
No, that's
Why is that wrong?
You have to carry.
The 6 is below
You have
5.
to
Right.
carry.
I'm subtracting 6 from 5, not 5 from 6. I can't tell you how many people make that very silly mistake and they decide to use the commutative property. They use the commutative property, which does not exist for subtraction, only addition. We're going to have to regroup. We're going to borrow from the 7/10. The 7/10 becomes a 6/10. We borrowed a 10th, so the 5 becomes a 15. 15 minus 6 is
9.
9. Practice our fluency. 6 minus 3.
3.
Thank you. 2 minus 5.
You can't do that.
We
so
can't.
have
We
to
need to
subtract
regroup,
the carry
regroup,
from the 5,
regroup,
makes the
regroup.
5 4, and makes the 2 a 12, and then the then you do 5.
Kai's
minus
running with it. So the 5 is going to become a 4, and we borrowed a 10,
12.
so the
2 is
2
12.
becomes a 12. 12 minus 5.
Is 7.
4 minus 6. We're in the same dilemma
2.
again.
Wait,
We're going to have to
Can't do
borrow
it.
from the 9. 9 becomes an 8, and the 4 becomes a
14.
14. 14 minus 6.
14
8.
minus 6 is 8.
8 minus 2.
8 minus
6.
2 is 6.
6. All right, what's my unit here? Because this solved the equation. It does not solve the
Money.
problem. Yes, we're working with money, so don't forget
Yes, you
to
have to
add
put
in
the
your
money.
dollar sign. So, after Danielle and Willow paid for the hall, how much money remained to actually be donated to the Vision of Hope schools?
687,39,000.
Good.
$687.
$687.39. So I
$687.
commend you for reading this as decimals, 39. Some of you were saying hundredths. But when you're working with money, you don't need to say hundredths because the word cents means out of 100. And if you forget, how many years are in a century?
100.
100 years. And a centipede has 100 legs, right? When you have a cent, you would take 100 cents to make $1. So a cent is always out of 100. So 39 out of 100 means 39 hundredths. So if you have money, you don't need to say the hundredths. You would just say the cents. So I would say $687.39. I don't need to say 39 hundredths unless I'm not working with money. Does everybody get that? Yes? All right, so that's still a whopping amount of money. I would love if we could raise that much money for the Vision of Hope schools. So I hope you get your fundraisers going and you guys let me know how I can be a part of any fundraiser ideas that you have later on.
Oh, I'm starting a
All
business.
right.
Making selling perler bead coasters and keychains.
Oh,
wanna
keep
get-
me posted. Keep me posted.
Yeah.
All right, guys. So let's take a peek at some of the practice problems on page 48 and 49. And I'm going to skip around a little bit to the numbers that are written horizontally, because I do feel like some of the problems that are written vertically kind of do half of the work for us. And I think for working with decimals, our challenge is mostly making sure that we are lining up our decimal points and annexing any necessary zeros. So the first question I would like to look at is
What's the page?
page 48 and 49. The first question I would like to look at is number 5. So we're going to work with, I'm going to write my very first number first, my total amount, 56 and 8/10. There was no money, so I'm going to read it properly. Hopefully you're all practicing reading it properly and fluently.
56
And we're subtracting 2 and 765 thousandths. Before I write that, I'm going to drop my decimal down. So I make sure everything's lined up, and I'm going to write my digits to the right and left of my decimal point. So the 2 is to the left of my decimal point. The 7 is to my right. And then I'm going to fill in my other numbers. So there we go. 2 and 765 thousandths. This still looks a little incomplete. To ensure that none of my numbers accidentally shift into the wrong column and I make a careless error, what should I do, Ashley?
You should
Add a
add
zero.
Add zeros. Fill it.
What's
And
that
with
word?
zeros.
Not add zeros. Annex
Annex.
zeros. So I'm going to annex a 0 in my hundredths place, in my thousandths place. And you know what? So that this 2 doesn't accidentally shift under my 5, I'm going to annex a 0 in my tens place. That way, if there are digits in every single column, I have no excuse to subtract the wrong numbers or borrow the wrong numbers. Everything's nice and neat and organized. All right, before I start to subtract, I'm gonna drop my decimal down. And now I'm ready. 0 minus 5 cannot be done. I need to look next door and see if I can regroup. Guess what? Next door has nothing for me to borrow either. So I'm going to have to keep going because I can only borrow from one person at a time. This kind of reminds me of an old-fashioned fire brigade where when there was a fire, the firemen didn't have a hose and they had to pass the bucket one person at a time, moving from one person to the next. So 0 can't borrow from 0. So I'm going to have to wait. This guy is going to say, I'll go next door. I'm going to see if I can get something for you. So the 0 goes into
And
the
for me.
tens place, and there's an 8 there, big enough. 8 becomes a 7.
0 becomes a
Nice.
10.
0
And-
becomes a 10. Now this
you
0
have
can
to-
borrow from here.
And now the 10 becomes
a
a
9.
9.
Then that
And the 0
0
becomes a 10.
Beautiful. Now I'm ready to work. 10 minus 5,
5.
5,
9 minus 6.
3,
I feel like I have 4 people answering me today.
7.
7 minus 7,
0.
6 minus 4. I'm sorry. 6 minus 2. I started saying the answer. Sorry. 6 minus
Thanks for
2.
giving us the answer.
Hey, if you were having difficulty with that, you've got to do some reviewing. My brain subconsciously went there and started saying the answer. 5 minus 0.
5.
All right.
This is
Let's
too easy.
read. I know, right? Read this
And
answer
now
for me.
colony of
Properly.
one,
54
and
All right. All right. Pause.
55 and
Pause.
35 cents.
54 and 35 thousandths. Beautiful.
4.35.
No, don't say that, Jada.
Yeah, say decimal point. Say
No,
decimal point now.
and.
We all
All
say
right.
decimal point now. We say it.
Decimal
All right.
point.
Let's try another one, shall we?
Decimal point.
No. Let's try number 7. 22.
Solve Lost colony of
And I hope that you're exaggerating with that decimal point so you don't
Why do you
act,
do the curl
so you don't
on the
have a little
table?
dot on your page that
Totally.
goes
That's what I
missing.
do.
And I'm gonna drop my
Pro
decimal
Atoan.
down, subtract,
Proatoan. The
and I
decimal
have
said
10 and
proatoan.
7/10. Place the numbers in the proper
And 7.
place the digits in the proper place. Drop my decimal down, and let's begin working. 4 minus 7, not 7
You
minus
can't do
4.
that, so it's
Take-
it becomes a 14 and
It
you
becomes
borrow
a
All right,
14.
so we borrow from the
So that
2.
becomes 1, and then
The
this
4
one
becomes a 14.
and
Now
then
we
we
can work
minus
with
the
it.
7.
All right.
and then
Ah,
All right, 14 minus 7.
7.
1 minus 0.
0.
2 minus 1.
1.
Read it for me.
1.
11 and
Decimal
11 and
point.
7/10.
11 and
All right.
7/10.
Thank you to the people that were saying it properly. Some of you are intentionally throwing that point in there. So 11 and 7/10 is our answer. So 5th graders, you can see that as long as you don't have any hiccups with lining up your decimal point and your digits, and you don't have any hiccups with borrowing, which some people are still a wee bit shaky on, to be honest. Then this should be okay. The most common mistakes I've already told you. The most common mistakes, people's digits accidentally wind up in the wrong column. I think we're all guilty of doing that at least once, where you subtract or you add the wrong numbers because your numbers were not lined up properly or it was a little sloppy. So I think that's number one issue, which I think if you annex your zeros, you should not have that issue. And the other issue is when we start to use the commutative property, which is only for addition, in subtraction, and we subtract in reverse order. All right, let's move on to page 49 because I want to continue with working with the horizontal one. So let's take a look at number 16, and I'm going to neatly write 15 and 3/100. Drop my decimal down.
Decimal point
Well,
3 cents.
for this one, it wasn't money, so we would say the proper decimal
I was joking.
value. Okay. And then 4
I put
and 121 thousandths. Again, I don't want to make any careless errors, so I'm going to annex my zeros. I'm going to annex a 0 in the thousandths place, so my 1 can be subtracted, and I'm also going to annex a 0 in my tens place. Before I solve, I'm going to drop my decimal down, and now I'm ready. 0 minus 1, not 1 minus 0.
No, you
Borrow
can't
from
do
the
that.
3.
Borrow from a 3, and the 3 becomes a 2, and the 0 becomes a 10.
Oh,
Yes.
wow. Okay. Where did that come from? All right. So
Yeah.
That
yes,
was me.
I'm just saying, don't do this. Please. Begging you.
Wait.
Don't.
I'm confused.
0 minus 1. I see some students who
It's
are
9.
rushing and do this.
9.
No.
You
Miss
cannot
Velez, you
take,
got the answer incorrect.
so fifth graders, you
Miss
cannot take 1 away from nothing. I have nothing. I can't take 1 away from it. So I'm going to borrow from my 3. My 3 becomes a 2. My 0 becomes a 10. Now I can
You're
work with
about
it.
to say you're about to say 10.
I know, I
instead of
keep
0.
saying. All right. 10
Yeah,
minus
see the answer for us.
10 minus 1 is
Is 9.
2 minus 2.
0.
0.
0 minus 1.
Can't do that.
You can't do that.
Can't do that. Borrow from
Yeah,
the
me too.
5. 5 becomes a 4.
Everyone's confusing me from everyone talking at the same
Yeah.
time.
All right. 0
It's 9.
becomes a 10. 0 becomes a 10. 10 minus 1 is
9.
9. 4 minus 4 is
0.
1 minus 0.
1.
Read this number for me.
10.
And 909,000. I'm still hearing 900 in. Don't make a new number for me.
900.
All right, 909 thousandths.
900,000. Yay.
Gorgeous.
Miss Velez, we get
Beautiful.
this so much. You can let us out.
Oh, you know what?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, we're
All right,
really
so
good.
We have one more, and then you are free.
No.
You are free to go.
I want to start. I want
You're
math.
No, the more you chat,
Wait,
the
wasn't
less
it
time we have.
All
All right, ready?
More you
Yeah, I will solve this.
Number
65
plus 0.
and 18 hundredths
Hundredths.
minus, drop your decimal down,
Drop it down.
12 and 5 what?
Oh, 0.
5,000.
Thousandths. Annex a 0. Now let's drop your decimal down.
I don't like
0 minus 5.
You have to.
You
no.
can't-
No. Don't do that.
Oh, Miss
Don't
Velez,
do
I got
that.
it.
Well,
All
it
right,
is
what
5.
must I
but
do?
Don't do that.
You have to carry.
You have
Borrow.
It's
It's not
borrow.
scary.
The 8 becomes a 7.
7.
0 becomes a 10. All right.
And you
Five.
subtract that, and it becomes a 5.
Still a
Okay,
5.
I will call on people. Luigi, 10 minus 5?
5.
Merrick, 7 minus 0.
7 minus 0 would equal 7.
Emma, 1 minus 0.
1.
All right. Valentino, 5 minus 2.
3.
3. And Anaya, 6 minus 1.
5.
Beautiful. Chris, can you read the answer for me properly?
Yes, it is 53 and 175.
100. 100 what?
53 and 175,000.
Beautiful. Yes. And guess what, guys? You did such a fabulous job. I
We're
will
so
stick around for any
smart.
questions,
We're
but
so
you are
smart.
good to go. Yes, you
We're
are. Very
so
smart.